and welcome to the SCOUTCAST, brought to you by Fantasy Football Scout. A little bit of a different one this week. It is the International Break SCOUTCAST, so we're just doing a bit of a Q&A. As always, you're joined by me, Andy, FPL Mode, and we are also joined by Rich. How's it going, Rich?
Hello. Yeah, good. I'm already regretting sitting down. I thought because it's a shorter one, I'll sit down, but I feel quite fidgety already.
No, you do, because normally you stand up, don't you?
Normally, stand up, I pace around. Well, not too much as far
Yeah.
as the headphones will
When
allow.
Palmer's
Yeah.
taking a penalty, you're pacing around.
Oh God, the way you did me like that, I thought he'd missed.
Oh, mate, I thought he did. I thought it was saved. But
I watched it afterwards. I watched the highlights.
Yeah.
It was a good penalty, I thought.
yeah, it was all right. It was all right.
Yeah, you described it like, oh, it's lucky. It's come off the keeper. It's hit the post. Like,
Why would I do that? Why would I do that?
I don't know.
No. But have you been all right? How was the last week in FPL? Because obviously we both got green arrows.
We did. I think I've had like 5 or 6 in a row now. They've just been really, really small, unlike yours. I mean, you're now above me.
Yeah.
I sold Simas.
Yeah, I benched him.
Yeah. Well, at least you still got him. I had this master plan that I'd sell him because he wasn't going to play. I'd sell him. He'd drop in price. Livramento would start on my bench. He'd go up in price. I had it all mapped out. Now I can't do Livramento back to Simas if needed.
Oh man, I tell you what, there's probably going to be some questions about this, and we want to try and answer as many questions as possible from people in the chat. So before we get too into it, because we've only got about 40 minutes tonight, but we want to try and answer as many questions as possible, both on green arrows. We're here to answer as many questions as possible tonight. Basically, we have no screens. We are literally just me and Flappy on this main screen, and we're going to try and answer as many questions as possible. Now, Rich has just come up with one there about Simas. What do you do if you sold Simas? Would you be getting him back? Because those fixtures are still there, and all of a sudden he went from being essential to rubbish, sell him, to now everybody's thinking, oh no, actually he's probably quite a good asset.
Oh, would I? What are you asking me if I want to buy him back already?
Oh, well, there are people thinking about it. I mean, the fixtures are pretty good, apart from obviously this week they got Man City, but yeah.
I'm undecided. I knew potentially I'd look to buy him back because I wanted to keep cash a week and then sell him.
Yeah.
I've already sold him for Saliba, so I've got because it looks like for the next 3 you could just have 2 Arsenal defenders.
Yeah.
I mean, this week doesn't look great for any clean sheets, but the 2 after that, Arsenal are favourites for a clean sheet for the game week. So really, we're only going to have one other spot for a defender.
Yeah.
So I could potentially not go back there, but the fixtures do look really good, don't they?
Yeah, they really do. Obviously, they got Man City away, which you wouldn't be getting them in for that one. But then they got Fulham at home, Sheffield United away, Crystal Palace away. That's not bad, is it?
No, it's kind of terrifying, but
Yeah.
but I think you could go without.
He's going to be like Haaland, where you don't play him in the fixtures that you don't expect him to play, and then he hauls, and then you put him back in again, and then he doesn't do anything.
Well, I was even thinking, like, what did Simas get in the last 2 weeks? He got 15 and a 1, so that's 16. I mean, Harry Maguire, he's got 13 in the same time, so kind of the same thing, isn't it? Maguire, Simas.
Exactly. Damien Broyne says, my timing is perfect. Lovely. Thanks for joining us. Albin says, 10 p.m. in South Africa. Been waiting for this. How's it, gents? How's it, Albin? Thank you very much for joining us. Michael says, hello from Sydney. Crow, we got everybody everywhere tonight. This is lovely. Blake, morning from Australia. Patrick Ford says, evening. Do I bench Gordon or Diaby this week? So Diaby has got Spurs away, whereas Gordon has got Chelsea at home. What do you think?
I would bench Diaby. I mean, he came off about 60 minutes in the last game, didn't he? I guess because Tielemans is playing more.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the reasons I didn't really like Diaby was his potential minutes when they were improving, weren't they?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd bench Diaby.
Yeah, I think I would as well. I think Gordon could be playing up top now with Wilson out for 6 to 7 weeks as well.
Yeah.
And if Isak isn't completely back, he could be playing up top. I'm actually
it's at home as well, isn't it?
I'm actually toying with the idea of selling Gordon this week. Like genuinely.
Who for though? Is it for Eze or?
Yeah, for Eze.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, there's a lot of midfielders. Diaby and Gordon are good. I prefer Gordon, but yeah, there's loads of midfielders I prefer. I mean, even in Bumo.
Yeah.
I'd rather have Mbumo than
Mbumo's coming in soon, don't you worry.
Oh, I know he is. I know he is.
Luton at home, hello. Ivan says, who do I captain, Haaland or Bowen? And is Matoma injured? So Matoma pulled up with an injury for the international break. We have no idea whether that's an international injury or whether he's actually injured. If he is, that's a killer for the people that got him in for a point and then for him to get injured. But yeah, who would you be going with this week? Haaland, who's we just said it. He's got Liverpool at home, or
Home to Liverpool.
Bowen, West Ham, who's got Burnley away. Who do you fancy there? Or is there a
Always
better
the
captaincy option because there's not many this week?
Always the penalty taker. So I mean, I don't like. It's not a great fixture, is it? Let's be honest. It's a lunchtime kickoff as well.
Ooh, Gandhi.
I mean, I'm definitely going to go Haaland.
Yeah.
Unless I did see he got a little. I don't want to start a rumor. I did see he had a little knock earlier. I think he came on against. I want to say the Faroe Islands or
nice. Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Well, who are you captaining Haaland or because you've got both actually, don't you?
I do have both, yeah. Also, obviously, if I do get Eze in, I think he's got to be in the captaincy discussion with Luton away. I think this is one of those weeks. I think I'm just going to go Haaland and play the game a bit and just say, go with the player that's probably going to be most owned and then try and get some differentials elsewhere, if that makes sense. Haaland against Liverpool at home, I still think that's fine. We've seen what he's done against United and Chelsea recently, so I think he can do it.
The problem with Bowen is I think he's a great pick. I mean, his stats aren't incredible when you compare it to the other midfield options. Obviously, he doesn't have penalties as well. And I know there's been a lot of people quite unhappy that Palmer keeps scoring penalties, just as an example. Or there were people like me, when I didn't have Salah, I was quite unhappy that, Salah kept, he scored 2 penalties in 2. So not quite Palmer's level. So, I mean, that's why I don't own Bowen, even though I think he's a great asset. And it's probably why I wouldn't captain him.
Yeah. I think that's fair.
Yeah, and he plays for West Ham. Like, I don't want any disrespect to West Ham, but as good as that fixture is, I just couldn't see myself captaining him. I think the only reason he's so highly owned as well, Bowen, is just it was Maddison, wasn't it? I mean, I know you had him before that.
Yeah.
And what was he at? Like 20% EO?
Yeah, he jumped up quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was Maddison. Like,
it was great seeing Mitchell's ownership go up this week.
I know you've had it all. You've had Bowen shooting up. You've had Mitchell shooting up. You've had Simas on your bench shooting up.
Mitchell went from 1% to 10% owned the week after he hauled, which I thought was brilliant. I've got a price rise out of him now. Love it.
You're going to be, that when you go on the front page of the FPL website and you see the richest teams, you must be close now.
No, well, when you remember I wildcarded, I was 99.7, but I'm up to 103.3 now or something like that. So it's the price rises have been ridiculous since I wildcarded. Yeah,
I'm on 102.
Yeah. No, it's been.
I've got Pedro, so he's probably going to drop a bit. Oh no.
Dave Moriarty. Oh, hello. Hang on. Oh, he's gone. Hang on. Where's he gone? Dave Moriarty says, great surname by the way, Sherlock surname.
Yes,
that is.
It reminds me of Sherlock. Yeah.
Yeah. He's the bad guy, isn't he? Sterling to Palmer, Kabak to James. Got 2 free transfers. So does he go to Palmer and then upgrade to James? This does seem a bit early for Chelsea.
Yeah, I mean, he's selling a Chelsea as well.
Yeah, Sterling's good.
I was thinking this. I mean, if Sterling had penalties, which he doesn't, he'd be like an incredible asset. So I agree. I'd probably rather have Palmer for the money than Sterling. It just seems, it seems a little bit early.
Yeah,
Chelsea. Although I mean, this could change after this week because once the Newcastle away fixture's out of the way. It's Brighton at home, Man United away. Is it that bad when you look at like Brighton in the league recently?
Yeah, true.
And then they get onto that amazing run we've been talking about. So,
I mean, Man United will keep a clean sheet because obviously Maguire's playing for him. So,
of course, so that's 0-0 written all over it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
3 bonus points for Big Harry. Let's try and catch up with the chat a bit. Mad says, I went without Trippier and Watkins on my wildcard in game week 5, up from 1.5 million to top 13k, not always needing to go to the template. Yeah, no, very true. Leo is good. Would you transfer out Matoma and Diaby for Mbumo and Bowen? If it's for free, I don't mind that.
Diaby. Who were the other 2?
So would you transfer out Matoma and Diaby for Mbumo and Bowen?
Yes.
If it's
I
for
would,
free,
but then again, because this is almost a question for you, because I think there's 2 midfielders you're going to be targeting, and a lot of people are going to be targeting over the next few weeks.
Yeah.
And it's Mbumo and Palmer.
Yep.
So I guess the argument really is not do you bring in Mbumo, because I think you definitely do, and at home to Arsenal, that's fine. I think it's just if you go for Bowen or if you go for Palmer this week. I mean, there is an argument with Bowen. It might be, like you say, a week or 2 early on Palmer. Yeah. So if you've got the money, you might be better going Bowen or Eze.
It's literally where I am in terms of I've got Gordon I'm worried about Newcastle moving forward for a couple of weeks because they just seem to be in that dip at the moment, and obviously there's a lot of injuries. They've got not great fixtures, and I'm wondering whether moving to something like Eze before I move to Palmer is quite a nice little jump to make, if that makes sense. So you move to Eze, you get Luton, West Ham, and Bournemouth, and then you jump on Palmer for his lovely run from 16 onwards. Like just seems to work really nicely.
I guess it's difficult, isn't it? Because you kind of want to plan for this blank and double as well. So the less transfers you can do, the better.
Yeah.
And obviously, there was a lot of us last week. Those of us without Maddison, we did silly transfers. Like we bought in, Livramento for Simas because we had to use one.
Yeah.
But if you end up, because you'll probably want to end up bringing in like a Brentford or the City keeper at some point. So that might be a transfer or two.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just wonder long term, you're going to want Mbumo and Palmer, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
So it's 100%. Just a case of if you're going to be a bit luxurious and jump on Eze or Bowen and then move it on.
Yeah.
I think that's a tricky one, especially with Palmer. He keeps rising.
Yeah, he does.
He's gone from being cheap to...
he's still cheap. He's still cheap. 5.1 is he at the moment?
5.1, but I could see him hitting like 5.5, 5.6, if it continues.
With those fixtures though, he's worth, like, even if he goes up to 5.5, he's well worth that. I know it's tough at the moment.
He's just not that much less than Eze then. Although arguably Eze's a better pick. At the moment, I think he is.
What's the other one then? So, Damien Bruins, would you sell Cash or Diaby this week? Diaby is an easy move to Mbumo. Cash, I'm unsure who is priority. I already have Saliba.
It really does depend on your bench, doesn't it? I think Mbumo has an obvious replacement. Diaby has that obvious replacement in Mbumo. I think that's really obvious. Yeah. The defenders, I think it's still all up in the air. Yeah. And even with like Simas, it's not nailed on. You have to have him.
And he's already got Saliba.
Well, exactly. He seems to be. He's the one I've moved to this week because I had exact money, so I've done it already. Yeah. He seems like that safe one because, like we said, Arsenal have got the best 3 defensive fixtures.
Yeah, big time
over the next 3.
Yeah. So I think I'd probably do the Diaby move because Cash, like, you can hold him. It's not the end of the world if you have to hold him, and obviously he's got Bournemouth as well in game week 14.
Yeah,
so probably just hold him.
He's not been incredible, and also a lot of people. I guess it depends when you bought him as well, because some people got in really cheap on Cash.
And it's not like you're missing out on an awful lot of other defenders either. It's not other cheap defenders that are killing it. But if you've already got Saliba, I think Diaby's the priority there.
Well, cheap defender wise, who would you say the best 3 are right now? Like if you could wildcard again, because it's hard.
Maguire. I still think
even his run's
good
coming
because
into an
cheap. But then, like you said, Cash has just got the upside, hasn't he? Which is the thing, and then an Arsenal defender. But yeah, it's not been fun owning any defenders this year, really.
No, arguably
he was expensive.
Arguably, you definitely want Saliba. That's why I've gone early. I wish I'd gone last week, to be honest, which a lot of people had.
Yeah, well, some people went around it, didn't they? Went for White, some people went Gabriel, and obviously Saliba ended up with the 9 points.
That wasn't talked about enough either, because the fact that we didn't know White was going to be missing out, which meant Zinchenko definitely played again. Zinchenko scored as well, because I had a route to Zinchenko. That kind of annoyed me more than the Joe Gomez thing.
No, the Joe Gomez was bad. Andrew Sand says, Mr. Mode, have you ever been photographed with or seen in the same room as Let's Talk FPL Andy? Nope. Colm Bugler says, who to bring in this coming game week, Saliba or Mbumo? Both will be in game week 14. If you had to prioritise now, Saliba or Mbumo to bring in this week, if you had an option of both for free, who would you be bringing in?
And there's a theme here, isn't it? Saliba and Mbumo show.
Yeah, big time.
Again, it depends. If you've got defenders, because the defensive fixtures aren't great this week. It really does depend. It depends what defenders you've got. If you've got playable defenders, and even Charlie Taylor, I would say at home to West Ham is like inverted commas playable this week.
Yeah.
I'd probably go the Mbumo route.
Yeah.
Whichever one you go for, you're going to want the other one next week.
Yeah, I think you can wait 1 week on Saliba. I can easily see Mbumo scoring a penalty against Arsenal with Arsenal playing away from home. 100% see that.
I hope so. I hope you're right.
You can. I can genuinely see that. Arsenal aren't exactly keeping clean sheets all over the place, but they do have nice fixtures coming up. But I think Mbumo this week over Saliba.
Are there any players you're targeting? I know we need to get through all the questions in the chat. Right. Are there any attacking players you're targeting who are not on penalties?
No. So it's Eze, Mbumo, Palmer, Solanke.
penalties.
Yeah.
Just never
Although,
ever gets them.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was talking to my mate the other day. He said it's been over 2 years since Bournemouth got a pen.
So he's probably forgotten how to take them.
They just don't take penalties.
That's mad.
Yeah, I know. And then obviously it's defensive. Yeah, so no, they're all penalty takers, but they're also good at the moment and cheap.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I feel like it's getting talked about a lot. Penalties.
Yeah.
It's hard to have an argument not to go for these players. I mean, people have come off Maddison. Obviously,
yeah,
we didn't think he was on penalties.
It's why you think like Bowen's done so well this year. He's got 8 league goals already, and he's not on penalties. He's doing very well.
It's the only knock I can have on him, though. You know, we got marginal things to decide between these players. He's got great fixtures. It's just like, no, he's not on penalties.
Black Wolf says, evening gents from California. Evening Black Wolf, absolute legend that you are. Abdallah says, Doku, Gordon and Nketiah, who do I bench this week? So Doku's got Liverpool at home. Gordon, we've already mentioned, has got Chelsea at home. And Nketiah is Arsenal. They've got Brentford away. So who would you bench out of those 3 this week?
I mean, I saw Jesus was back in training.
Yeah,
so...
he's getting an MRI with Brazil. They're going to they're hoping he plays against Argentina.
Okay. So he's back, but obviously we have to track the planes coming back from South America.
Nice.
So I think it would be Nketiah because obviously Trossard can play there as well.
Played well as well.
Yeah. Obviously Doku might be a risk, so you'll probably have to see what Luke thinks. Think if he's going to start or not.
Yeah. Didn't at the weekend, did he? Came on, didn't he? Or did he start? No, he did start, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did see Luke mention something about a lineup for Doku against Liverpool. I just can't remember. Yeah. God, this is bad. I can't remember if he said he'd start or be benched.
He said he wouldn't. He said Grealish would start because it would be control to start with and then bring Doku on.
Okay. Yeah. Which was the argument a few weeks ago, wasn't it? That Doku would play in easier games, not in the harder games. And I mean, this is a harder game.
Yeah. Mario says hi from Portugal. Sam says good afternoon from Ottawa. Bloody hell. Who we got? Jammer.
And you're in Yeovil.
That's exotic for them.
What's the time over there?
Jammer says hello from Western Canada, where it's just gone 1 p.m. Would you bring in Mbumo for Douglas Luiz this week for free? Bringing in Mbumo next week regardless. Nothing else to do this week. I mean, I know I think we've all said it on Scoutcast. We were never real Douglas Luiz believers. We thought even Diaby was better than that. But I think if you can get Mbumo in this week for free and you've got nothing else to do, I think it's a fine move still, isn't it, Rich?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this one's interesting because obviously we're talking about penalties all the time. Yeah. It's a penalty taker for a penalty taker. But yeah, I think Mbumo long-term plan. If you don't get him this week, I feel like you have to go next week.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, this is a question for you, but it might be a more general question.
Yeah.
Let's say something crops up and you have to use both your transfers. You haven't got Mbumo in, and then you have to do another transfer next week. Would you do a hit for Mbumo because of that fixture run?
Yeah.
Okay. This is what I've been wondering with people frivolously using transfers, if it would be worth that hit.
I want him long term. I know he's got the blank, but he's also got the double. He's got Luton at home. I genuinely think if you don't have him, you can take a hit for him in game week 14, and I think that's absolutely fine because he's somebody you're probably going to want moving forward anyway. So I think that's all right.
And everyone's waiting to pounce on him now.
Yeah, I think it's good. Ege, sorry if I've massacred that. Says I still have Bruno Fernandes. Should I captain him this week? Man United have Everton away. Don't think it's captainable. Everton away is not easy, is it? Not as easy.
Oh,
as
it's weird, isn't it? Everton's stock has risen. You remember, a lot of us had Pickford and we were slagging them off.
I know.
but no. It's not. I mean, there is genuinely. You could probably punt on a captain this week. I mean, you almost certainly could punt on a captain this week.
Yeah.
But I don't think that. I really don't think that's the one for me.
No. Will Mayo says Burn replacements. I still have him. Also, I have Cash, Simicast, Lascelles, and Taylor. So, if you had to replace Burn and it had to be for exact money or lower, who would you be replacing him for? Considering he's already got Cash, Simicast, Lascelles, and Taylor.
Simicast, Lascelles, and Taylor. That's nice backline. I would continue to monitor the Newcastle defender news because obviously we haven't got any clear answers on Botman yet. No. There seems to be conflicting things.
Sounds like he's going to be out longer than we thought.
Yeah, I just want firmer confirmation of that, and then potentially you could look at the sells. I mean,
He's got
punt.
the sells.
Oh, of course. Oh, wow. And no Arsenal defender, but he's only got 4.7. And I wouldn't risk it on Zinchenko unless we get Ben White news.
Yeah, true.
Does that make Tomiyasu potentially more nailed? It's tricky. There's not enough. I mean, like last week, Dunk, for example, would have been brilliant at home against Sheffield United, even though they went down to 10, didn't get a clean sheet because he's obviously nailed. It's finding good nailed players.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm struggling on defenders so much this week. Did he have Taylor?
He did, yeah. So
bloody hell.
I'd probably go either a Palace defender because they've got 3 nice fixtures, or I go a little bit left field and I go for like Wolves or something. They've got 3 really nice home fixtures in the next like 6, and you're not going to be playing them every week anyway. So you just need those players that are going to slot in when you need them. That's the thing I'd do. I'd probably use like FPL team or something like that and just log on and look to see which weeks you're low on and just make sure you've got defenders you can plug in then.
And looking ahead to game week 18.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's difficult. This is the real struggle I've been having. You know, which budget defenders are good? Because obviously we talked a lot about Maguire. Did he have Maguire?
No.
That could be one. I mean, it's West Ham away in 18, for example. It just frees up a little bit of money, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Team Alex says, I need to sell Watkins or Alvarez this week for funds for Salah. So who would you sell, Watkins or Alvarez this week?
Again, it's another tricky one. Hopefully there'll be some rumours about the City lineup. Because obviously he's going to be travelling back. I mean, if he's benched, I think you've got an easy sell on Alvarez. If he starts, I'd probably sell Watkins. I think that's the way I'll do it, actually.
Yeah.
I'd hope to get some kind of team news.
See, I was intent on losing Watkins at this week. Like, this is the plan I've had for quite a while. And I did have Solanke, but I've loved Solanke for quite a long time, and I fancied it because Bournemouth have Sheffield United away, then they got Villa at home, which isn't that bad at the moment, and then Crystal Palace away, and then they've got some really nice fixtures from 17 to 19. I toyed with the idea of losing him for someone like Solanke, but we didn't know that Spurs would be now playing their second string, back line. And then they've got Bournemouth away. And then obviously in 18, they've got Sheffield United at home, which is probably the best fixture in 18. So there is the case for just holding Watkins, isn't there? But be interesting to see if people do move off him this week.
I was pretty sure I'd be selling him this week. That was my original plan when I wildcarded in 10. But yeah, I'm not that convinced. I think a player like Solanke is in that kind of price point, on pens, cheap. It kind of fits in more when you need the money. Yeah. And I feel like I'm not really sacrificing much if I keep Watkins.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm not that fussed about 18. But I guess it would be nice in 18 to have the best 2 captain options in case something goes, wrong. Like as in having Watkins and having Son, for example.
Yeah, I was going to say Son's the other one, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not going to hold him purely because of game week 18, because obviously there's other fixtures as well. I just don't see a way. Unless I want Trippier, I think that would be the only potential way. But then could Trippier start playing left back occasionally, with Livramento?
I think he does at some point.
Yeah, which is going to impact on him because obviously, he was getting insane numbers of crosses.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's the need for the money. And I think if I sold Watkins, it would probably be for Darwin. But that could wait until after Christmas.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I like it. Brian says, Eze, ? Yeah, we've spoken about Eze a bit already. I really like him moving forward. I think he's really good. Luton away, West Ham away, Bournemouth at home. 3 lovely fixtures. He's looked great since he's been back. Elise's back as well, which really helps Palace. Really helps Eze not being double teamed as well. And that was a bit of an American football term there, wasn't it? Sorry.
Not even 9 o'clock, Andy.
Yeah, and then... well, hey. Welcome to the Scoutcast. And he's on pens. I think he's a really lovely shout moving forward. I don't even know what his ownership is.
It must be really low. It must be low, despite Seb talking about him every week as well. It's going to turn it into the Eze cast. But yeah, I mean, I agree. There's part of me that's a little jealous because I've talked about having like Palmer and Mbumo. It means I can't.
3.8%, by the way.
How high? Sorry,
3.8.
Yeah, I thought it would be low, and his price is mad because he started at 6.5, and what's he now? 6.1.
Yeah.
I just think you have to be in a really good place to go to Eze with a plan to sell him. And I think if you went for Eze, would you sell him?
Yeah, I think you would. Because the fixtures are horrendous after the 3 fixtures. They've got Liverpool at home, Man City away, Brighton at home, Chelsea away. So I think you do. I think it's an easy sell in 15 for Palmer in 16.
So in 15, I'm just trying to remember Chelsea's fixtures.
So Chelsea then in 16 have Everton away, Sheffield United at home,
I see
away,
what you mean.
Palace at home. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, to be fair, I can't knock it.
FPL Spartan says, main talking point over the international break. Do you think Jaffa Cake should be included in the Biscuit World Cup?
What do you think, Andy? Because part of me thinks, actually, that sounds harsh. I haven't really cared to be honest.
I think they should be included because where else are you going to include them? We're an inclusive community, aren't we?
That's true. I mean, it's not really a cake. It's not really a biscuit. They're just Jaffa cakes, aren't they? They're different. It's like, what's a Pop-Tart? It's not cereal, is it? It's not
Pop-Tart. Oh,
yeah, but how would you define? It's just in that Pop-Tart kind of grey area.
Yeah,
they've invented their niche little market. What's a jammy Dodger? Well, I guess that's a biscuit, actually.
Yeah, that's biscuits.
Yeah.
Silly. Nuclear atoms. Where are the stats, the heat maps, and the other tables that I don't understand? This stream's just for you, Nuclear Atoms. We got another one. Where was it? Jeremy Linter, flapjack question, but Andy can answer if he wants. Cheers, mate.
That's you, Andy, if you want to join in.
2 free transfers and no obvious transfers to make. If I don't do Matoma to Mbumo, I'm eyeing a goalkeeper transfer. Here we go. This is why it's
That's
for you.
why it's for me.
As I have Areola and Turner. Who's your top 3 goalkeepers to replace Turner?
Oh, God. So the reason I became so obsessed with goalkeepers last year was purely because of doubles and singles.
Yeah.
And that's why I've mentioned them, with the doubles and doubles and blanks rather. I hadn't even thought about top. I mean, number 1 would be Flecken.
Yeah.
But obviously you'll need to pair them with someone else, like Areola, for example, because then potentially you're going to get this double upcoming. So, I mean, Flecken's top.
Yeah.
I guess second, if he's not injured, because he is injured at the moment, potentially Edison. I don't know if it's a waste of a City spot, and obviously it's expensive. And I mean, Johnson's obviously been the goalkeeper that's been performing well, as in he's had 2 or 3 9-pointers. Like you just said, they got 3 good fixtures, and then it gets horrific. Goalkeepers are just not good this year, so I think actually my third one would just be Areola because he is cheap.
Fair enough.
What about you?
I put Leno up there as well. I think those fixtures. They've got Wolves, Nottingham Forest, West Ham and Burnley at home in the next 6.
With Newcastle and Liverpool away in between.
But I'm just looking to see who else. So if you paired him with Areola, then in those 2 horrible fixtures, Areola's got Crystal Palace at home and Wolves at home. So I think I'd probably try and pair them up. They've been a good pair most of the season, to be fair. So I think I'd probably try and pair them up.
Would you not want Flecken for the double?
Well, yeah, that's the other thing, I suppose.
I know one of the games against Man City.
Yeah. Yeah, you probably want Flecken for the double. I don't mind that.
Plus, you'd have Flecken for the fixtures we're bigging up in Mbumo for. Luton at home, Sheffield United away. You've got Flecken.
Yeah, no, don't hate it at all. Black Wolf says, I don't own Saka and Son and have no immediate plans to get either in. Am I crazy?
He doesn't have Saka or Son.
He doesn't have Saka and Son. Is he mental for not having Saka and Son?
I mean, based on recent game weeks, no.
Both on pens. Nice fixtures for Arsenal. Spurs, Villa at home, Man City away, West Ham at home.
If I didn't have both, or let's say I don't have either, I would be targeting Saka. I'd be actively targeting Saka despite the drop-off in stats. Son, I'm not so sure about. I'm not going to be selling him. I've been seeing some people saying Bowen is a better asset than Son, and I'm sorry, I'm not buying that at all. I would want Saka, Son. Meh.
Yeah.
I'm going to be keeping Son, and I know actually Praz was saying. I don't want to overestimate what he said.
Yeah.
I think he said he's the most important player in his team along those lines. As in, I think he'd rather sell Salah than Son.
Oh, you're doing him dirty. He's there at the FCAs.
I know, and
you're like,
taking.
He said this. And
he said stuff eloquently. And
I'm
then
sure
Seb
said something as well.
Praz told me this behind the bike sheds.
Don't want to know about that.
That's right.
So FPL Mez, Evening Mez, I think I'm coming on your pod soon. Says, what should we do about Matoma? Is he a simple sell, or do we keep ahead of Nottingham Forest at home?
I mean, he's on their injury report, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I used the NFL term there.
No, I know, yeah. I feel like, because you play poker, I feel like this is one of those you should have folded before the flop kind of things. Like I don't know, it feels horrible now to say, oh, God, maybe he just wasn't worth getting him in this week.
I mean, I've got Yao Pedro, so I'm not saying
Brighton are just
that.
horrendous, aren't they? Like, we've been saying it for a couple of weeks now. Like, do we just completely avoid Brighton? Because the fixtures are there in terms of, the fixtures are nice, but they've got so many games. They seem to be prioritising Europe in terms of, those are where they want their big wins. I think they're just a nightmare to try and figure out. Like, this is like Man City light, and they're not even getting the results to kind of back it up at the moment. I don't know. I don't think you sell him before Forest at home, but it's tough, isn't it?
I mean, the results for them have been awful, and obviously, I guess one thing in the last game was they were beating Sheffield United until there was the red card.
Yeah,
and obviously that changed the whole game. I don't think Forest are mugs. Like, away from home, Brighton away at Forest. I mean, I think one of the memories of Brighton this season has been they started the season, didn't they? Smashing teams. I remember they were 4-0 up against Luton. Luton scored a late penalty.
Yeah.
They were looking a bit like Villa were looking, a couple of weeks ago when they were playing at home. And I think that's what we remember with them, but they're not doing the business. I mean, I wouldn't do a hit to remove Matoma, for example, if he's fit, but I think we've talked about the players we like and why we like them. Mainly, we've just said, penalties. And I think he's got back problem and hamstring problem as well. I don't know if that further weakens the attack. I mean, he's out quite a lot anyway. But yeah, if I had a spare transfer, I'd probably sell Matoma. I think it's time to cut the losses with that. Even though, he's had his half a game rest now, hasn't he? So he's probably gonna, if he's fit, he's probably gonna play every game.
Yeah.
I mean, the week after it's Chelsea away.
I think if you already got him in, I think I'd keep him. But if you could move him to Mbumo because you don't have Mbumo in 14, I'd probably just keep him for 13 and then get red. Personally,
would you go for Eze?
Not next week if I didn't have Mbumo. Obviously, I'd target him, but potentially Eze. I think I'd want Eze now. I think I'd want to get him in this week to get 3 weeks of fixtures as opposed to 2.
Yeah, I guess that's the problem. Let's say you could go to Mbumo. If you went to Eze for this week, knowing you were going to go to Mbumo, that feels really short term.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
It's hard timing it sometimes, isn't it?
It is, and it's this is without other things happening to your team. Within international break, there could be other injuries that pop up as well. Michael Whoop says, I don't live that far from Yeovil. I'm in Sydney. Next week, Melbourne. James Casey, how many returns do you see Castagna getting until game week 19? Like I just said, Fulham have some nice fixtures. They got Wolves, Nottingham Forest, West Ham and Burnley all at home in the next 6. And then in game week 19, they got Bournemouth away. See 2 clean sheets maybe? Because they're not going to get clean sheets in all those games. So maybe 2 clean sheets in the next 7.
I like the Castagna pick more than the Leno pick, if that makes sense. Obviously, being fully aware that one's a goalkeeper, one's a defender. Just because the defenders, like we've talked about, are generally pretty bad.
Yeah.
So I could see that solving a small problem. Whereas I don't think there's a problem with goalkeepers because the goalkeepers are going to play. So, yeah, I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Which is Castagna? 4.5, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's what he started at. I don't know what he is now.
Should have been more prepared here. My ad blocker, what's it doing?
While you're looking it up, JR says, Watkins to Haaland for a -4. I've got exact funds for it. Depends what you think Haaland's going to do in the next 2 or 3, I suppose.
It depends what the other move is.
-4 as well.
I mean, it's a -4 to potentially get a captain. Not that it's hard to find a captain this week, but the safest captain.
Yeah. I don't think I would, personally. I feel like you've obviously sold Haaland and you're waiting for a certain time to bring him back.
I think you would.
I don't think in game week 13 that's the time to get him back.
Let's set the scene. This is where we need Seb. Let's set the scene. You've just obviously had a massive green arrow ahead of that Man City game and Haaland's just got 16 points. and it's gone red, I reckon you'd have bought him in already.
No way.
Oh,
No way.
maybe I don't know you that well.
Yeah, no, exactly. Paul Duffy says, Jaffa cakes are cakes. There was a court case about it.
A court case.
Generic says, Pop-Tarts are sausage rolls minus the sausage. Oh.
That's quite deep. No,
Yeah.
it's quite deep for a Thursday.
Yeah. Nuclear Atoms, question for Andy. Are Man United the most toxic club in the Premier League? Yeah, probably. Yeah, inside and out at the moment, unfortunately. Jeremy Linter says, thanks, guys, from a very wet Somerset. Yeah, it's quite wet today, actually, in Somerset. Lars says, why would you want Flecken against City? That could be a -1. Double game week, isn't it?
So I feel like defenders can get the minus points a lot easier.
Yeah.
And obviously goalkeepers have got minus, and actually minus points are quite not that common.
Yeah. No, double game week. There's always got goalkeepers that are heroes in double game week. So, save points, then clean sheet in the last game.
Funny enough, Leno was one of the ones last season that did quite well for me, because that was against Chelsea, wasn't it? They had a double against Chelsea.
Yeah, got 10. They got 10 or 11 points, something like that, wasn't it?
It was crazy. Yeah, I think he got a double-digit haul in one of the games, and then he was sat on 9 points and got a late clean sheet wipeout.
Yeah.
It was a decent haul from a keeper. And I mean, when you look at any models, I mean, go in the rate my team tool on Fantasy Football Scout, like the goalkeepers in double game weeks, because of their minutes, are always really high up there. I mean, and the other game for Brentford in that game week is, I believe it's Palace. I think it's Palace away. Although Palace are getting all their attackers back, because the narrative the last few weeks was they have no attackers. So
they're getting them all back now.
Yeah. But let's see if they make it through Christmas. That's something quite threatening.
It did, yeah.
No, you know what I mean. Eze's just come back from a medium-term injury.
You needed to,
and at least they said a long-term injury.
You said that, like.
Yeah.
I don't know whether this is Dr. David or Dr. David. Says, what do you think about going for Alisson? If you had money to go for Alisson now, I was actually thinking about this the other day. He's the highest scoring goalkeeper. He is, there's no way I'm looking at the moment and thinking I'm going to be able to get triple Liverpool at any point. I've got Simas and Salah. I've no idea which other, I suppose Darwin.
You could go Darwin though,
Yeah. So I suppose that's the only ever because that's always been the biggest reason why you don't go Alisson, because it blocks your third Liverpool player. But are we missing a trick just not going in?
A lot of it's going to depend on what happens with Simas and the narrative that comes out of that, because I still don't feel, we don't know for sure that Simas is nailed. We don't know what's going on with Gomez. So he's a hard one to evaluate, because I think before Simas appeared, which by I say appeared, Robertson got injured.
Yeah.
I think there were people looking at going for Alisson, players like Trent as well.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think there's the need now. And I think if you were going to go for that premium goalkeeper, honestly, I think you go for Edison.
Yeah, fair enough.
What could be interesting is if Edison's actually injured.
And you go for what's his name? Ortega?
Ortega.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that I was just trying to see how much he was.
I mean, that would be ballsy as well, wouldn't it? To do it that early as well, because you got to wait like a month until
he's less than I thought.
What is he? 4.3 or something?
3.9.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh mate, there you go.
So
Flappy's in.
That's one to monitor, but I mean, you wouldn't
one to monitor.
You wouldn't commit to it now because you're waiting for this double. But
no wonder Rich wanted to sit down during this stream.
You can have. That's why, yeah.
Soldier Boy says, "What do we do with Strakosha?" He has
Switching
Areola.
to Ortega, same price.
He has Areola and Strakosha. Yeah, it's a tough beat. I mean, a lot of people have Areola and Turner. Turner's obviously now gone pretty much.
I mean, I've got Strakosha.
Yeah.
I think the only reason you got him was price.
Yeah, I'd have said so. Areola's going to play every game. It's just a shame that West Ham aren't obviously going through the nice bits at the moment, but they've got some nice home games coming up.
I honestly don't feel bad about Areola because he's cheap. The other goalkeepers are not doing that. No one's really putting up trees. You haven't got someone like Kepa annoying you every week as a non-owner.
Was it last year or the year before, wasn't it? Ward did it for Leicester for weeks and weeks.
After we'd all sold him.
Exactly, yeah.
We had Kepa. We've obviously had seasons with Martinez and Pope.
Yeah.
There's nothing really like that that's
No.
happening at the moment. I mean, Leno to a minor extent.
Yeah. Nuclear Atoms, how many of Ten Hag's signings are working, and do you believe in the process anymore? Stop it. Stop asking me these questions. That's for another stream. FPL Cowboy, last one. Apologies if you covered this already. What are your thoughts on Son? I am Salah-less, but I do have Darwin. They were my Salah cover. So if you had Son now and you had nothing else to do, I mean, I've been looking at my midfield quite a lot and thinking there is some scope at least to maybe lose Son, because they've got Aston Villa at home, then Man City away. They're not the two nicest fixtures, but he is on penalties, and Spurs are only ever going to play in one way. Would you be getting rid of him for, if you didn't have Saka, or if you wanted to get to Salah, for instance? Would you?
I think the only reason I'd do it would be for Salah or Haaland. If that's the only route, because I still think they're the two you'd want. I mean, you just look at Salah after that City game. It's like Fulham at home, Sheffield United away, Palace away, United at home. He's still got Burnley away after the blank as well. I know he is going to AFCON, so it's going to be it's going to be short term in terms of months, but not short term in terms of game weeks.
Yeah.
So I'd rather have Salah than Son myself.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, if I had a choice between the two, 100%.
Yeah, and I mean, but it can wait a week. I mean, I think that's the good thing, isn't it? You could see what Son does this week to evaluate it more. Maybe make sure you got 2 free transfers, because you'll probably need that to do the switch.
Yeah, and to be fair, Liverpool literally have their toughest fixture of the season this week in Man City away. So, like you said, you're going to 100% wait a week. Bricky's in the chat. Up the Hatters. Yeah, well done, mate. Good seeing you in here as well. Lovely stuff. Right, we're going to stop there. We're at over 300 people. That's not bad for an international break. Loads of questions. Hopefully we answered quite a few of them for you as well. It's always tough on one of these because you want to delve into stuff, but also you want to try and answer as many questions as possible. But Rich, thanks so much for joining us tonight, mate. Obviously it's a shorter Scoutcast, but it was enjoyable.
It was good. It was a lot of talk about Mbumo, Saliba, and penalties.
Yeah,
Three very important things.
Yeah, very important. So, chat, thank you so much for joining us. We will be back on Monday with Seb for our normal Scoutcast, where we go through our teams and a few other topics we want to talk about as well. But thank you so much for joining us tonight. I hope we gave you a little bit of that FPL fix in the international break. And we will be seeing you all next week, like I said, when we are a trio again, not just a duo. So thank you very much and see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.